right, so if you have a question, let me know. But what I want to do today is just pick up where we left off last week, and that's in section 6. And last week we set up a domain controller, right? We set up DC1, and I think DC2 is I can't remember if it's a domain controller or a member server, but I'll make sure it's a domain controller today. And then I'll set up the Windows 10 client, which isn't that big of a deal, but I'll just do it. And then what I want to do after all that's set up is verify that DNS is operational. And I also want to install the remote server administration tools on my Windows 10 client. So those are basically, if you're a network admin, if you think about it, odds are you're not going to be sitting at a server typically in a data center doing anything, right? I mean, you're going to be sitting at your desk or your cubicle. So you need some way to administer Active Directory. And the easy way of doing that is from your Windows 10 machine. Is that they have these tools, the remote server administration tools that you can install on a Windows 10 client. And once you've done that, you can get in and create user accounts, look at DNS, configure DHCP. So basically, all the same tools that you have on a server for managing your environment, you can install those tools on a Windows 10 client as well. All right. So from a security perspective, that makes more sense. I'd rather have my people logging into a Windows 10 machine as opposed to a server when it comes to doing their tasks, because people aren't that disciplined. You might say Philip, only log on to the server, for managing AD and nothing else. But then you're let me quick check Facebook, let me quick check Craigslist, let me quick check this, and all of a sudden who knows what you're getting on your machine. So anyways, if you can keep people limited to doing their work on a Windows 10 box, it makes a lot more sense. Agreed? All right, so let's take a look at the machines that I have so far. All right, so DC1. So I've installed Active Directory on this. If I click on local server, it says DC1 AD40 RubikPEF.com. If I don't have my VMware tools installed yet, I will in a second. I'm going to hit View Fit Guest now. Okay, I do. So that kind of stretches it out. That's a good trick to know if you guys are working on a VM and you're like, you want to optimize your window size. So I've got Active Directory installed. If I go under Active Directory users and computers, let's check computers. Okay, so I can tell right now I have that DC2 is a member server, not a domain controller. If I look at computers here, I see DC2. If I go under domain controllers, I see DC1. So let me quick make DC2 a domain controller, and then let's add the Windows 10 machine to it. All right, so I think this is all right. So how do what do I do? This is a member server right now. How do I make this thing a domain controller? No, fine, I'll do it myself then. I'm going to go under add roles and features, just like we did on the first machine, DC1. And I'm going to add the Active Directory domain services. This is interesting here. Like I have DC2 here, just to point it out. I could use this screen here. I could add another server to it, and I could add roles and features to any server in my environment. I'm currently logged on as a domain admin, so which basically means I have administrative privileges on every computer in my environment right now that are a member of this domain. So I could add it to this pane here and manage other servers as well. Sometimes you forget that in a large environment, you're not going to be able to sit down at every computer and do something. A lot of times you're going to have to remote into them to manage them. And most servers don't have monitors and keyboards attached to them. They're in a rack somewhere just running, and then you have to remote into them to manage them. So anyways, I'm going to install Active Directory Domain Services just like last time. Next. Install. And then once this is done, I am going to just finalize it. So here, what's going on here? You do not have adequate user rights to make changes to the target computer. What the heck? Let's just see how we're logged on here. All right. Here's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. I'm going to make a fresh domain admin account for managing my Active Directory environment. Okay? So let me jump to DC1 and under users here. Let me just make a new user called admin1, which is actually a best practice anyways. All right, so password never expires. That is not a best practice. I'm doing that. All right, admin1. So right now, if I look at admin1, admin1 is just a regular domain user, but I want to make the admin1 a domain administrator. So let me I'm going to add domain. I'm going to add that user to the domain admins account. All right, so basically now when admin1 logs in, he's going to be a part of the users group as well as the domain admins group. Good. All right, let's see if let's go back to this machine here, and let's log on as admin1. All right, now let's go under add roles and features one more time, and let's see if that works. Otherwise my demo just crashes and burns, right? So next, install. Oh, look at that. I think we're actually getting somewhere. I always get nervous when I do demos in front of a class because like anything can go wrong. It's so much easier just like doing it beforehand and taking screenshots and be like, oh, here's a picture of this happening. Here's a picture of that happening. But anyways. All right, so let's see. I've installed domain services. Let's finish up and make DC. Let's finish making DC2 a domain controller. It says here, promote this server to a domain controller. Okay. Next. This is that one local user. This directory services restore mode. This is basically a local user account on a domain controller that if your Active Directory ever gets messed up and you're trying to restore it from a backup, you just log on using this directory services restore mode. You can read up on it then. But I think like I explained last week, the scenario is if you ever restore a domain controller from a backup, it's not going to do anything because all your other domain controllers, since their database is going to have a more recent date than your backup one would, they're going to say, you know what, all the data on your domain controller is stale. Let's overwrite it with my data. But if your AD got messed up and you're trying to like literally restore from a backup, you have to log on locally and you basically tell your domain controller, you kind of tell it to cheat. Basically change the time, date code, or whatever on your database to make it look like the latest and greatest. So that way everything on that machine then gets pushed out to the other, or if you're only restoring some users, those users now are considered to be the most recent copy, and then they will overwrite all the rest, the accounts on your other domain controllers. All right, so you can read up on them if you ever want to, but that's what this password is for. It's for restoring Active Directory. A delegation to certain. I'm going to ignore this DNS stuff. It does say, like, it's interesting, install from media. So why do you think of like maybe an example where a company has a corporate office domain controller and they have these different satellite office with domain controllers that you're trying to spin up. Why would it be beneficial to install, like, to get a copy of your domain from like a USB drive as opposed to from another domain controller in your domain somewhere? So why would Microsoft offer that feature, do you think? I mean,
because maybe if something happens to the domain or domain goes down, you can just already reboot it from the media.
Well, that's a good thought, but that's not. I mean, that's not really, but that's a good thought. I mean, basically, you're saying there's a reason to have your database on a flash drive. It's not for backup. What it's more for is like, there's some companies where the parent companies are over in Europe and they have satellite offices in the U.S. So you don't want to have to replicate an entire domain's worth of junk data from Europe. I mean, that's a lot of bandwidth and a lot of time. If you can have your starting point on a flash drive, that becomes your domain's starting point, and then it'll only replicate the stuff that's changed since you made the flash drive. That's, again, I'm just getting sidetracked, but I'm just talking about it as we're going. So anyways, this is almost a domain controller. And then also I'll show you while this is cooking, let me just show you what I did. So my Windows 10 machine I had a problem with it last week. I don't know if you remember, I couldn't finish the install. The ISO was corrupt or something like that. So what I did is I cheated. I just went to the Capstone Project Resources document, and before class, I just downloaded my client here. All right, so if I go and if I look at my downloads, here it is right here. So while my domain controller is cooking, I'm just going to unzip this guy. All right. And if you look, I'm at version 1903. So again, that means 2019, March of 2019. If you have an older ISO or if you have a Windows 10 machine from like your Windows client class, you're going to want to get a newer version for your project. And that's because in question 20, when I have you install the remote server administration tools, it's changed so much, but if you have a really old version of Windows 10, you can't even install the remote server administration tools anymore. So you need a little bit newer version. All right? So you can copy mine off the Capstone Project resource document, or just download your own ISO and build your own Windows 10 machine, whatever you want to do. But 1903 or better, how's that sound? Version 1903 or newer. Okay, so this is done running. I guess what I can do real quick is I've downloaded it, and to launch a virtual machine, all that I do is I just double click the VMX file. You know, remember, like, you know, virtual machines have all these like virtual hard drive files and setting. If you just double click the VMX file, it'll launch right there. Double click it, and I guess I take ownership. Let's see here. There it is. So I have Windows 10. I'll power this one on real quick. What do you answer when you?
I moved it.
Nah, good man. All right, perfect. I moved it. Kaboom! That's perfect. All right, let's see how DC2 is doing again. Whenever a domain controller comes up for the first time, it just takes a while. So something else I probably should have done is my desktop system has like 32 gigabytes of RAM on it. So probably what I should do is let me go under settings here, and let's bump up the memory from 2 gigabytes to 8. Yeah. That'll make things run a little bit faster. All right. I can work on this client while DC2 is still working. So, all right, let's log into this guy. This is just a standalone computer right now. So I have to log on and make it a client. And I don't know if I'll remember how to get there or not. So I feel like it changes. Like Windows changed where some of these menus are in between systems, in between versions. And I was thinking about it. That's another reason to learn PowerShell, because at least in PowerShell, those commands don't change. So if I hit the PowerShell script for joining a client to a domain, I wouldn't have to go hunting and pecking for it like I'm going to now through my through the windows here. So I think I can just click on, let's see here, system about. This might be it. No. All right. Well, let's try this again. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Oh, it's under okay, I think it's under okay, here we go. if you're paying attention, good, because this is it took me a while to find this. Wait, let's see here. Sign, okay, access, this is crazy. I'm trying to join a domain right now, right? I had to click on access work or school. What the heck? I think they're saying like, oh, I'm going to join a domain at work. But if I go through here, hit connect, it's just not intuitive. And like I was reading online, and this I think this is another issue. Like when you have all these different versions of Windows 10 floating around out there, on older versions you got to it a different way. So it's just it is what it is. But I'm just telling you, you now have a screencast that shows you how to join your client to a domain. All right, set up a work or school account. Join this, and I have to click here. Join this device to a local Active Directory domain, because Microsoft also offers you the option that you can like log in with a Microsoft Live account into your Windows 10 machines. But anyways, join a domain. I think my domain is just called AD. Oh boy. And what's my domain? ad.4drubricpef.com. Let's try that. ad.4drubric. Oops. pef.com. Let's try that one. All right. Admin 1, I just created that account, right? All right. So I got this. Enter the account information of the person who will be using this PC. This person will have default permissions for the domain. That's interesting. So I think what they're saying here is it's going to create a user account. And, oh no. All right. Interesting. I'm going to skip the step. I don't know what it is.
Can you try just like the control panel method? Does that not work anymore?
Do what now?
The control panel method?
For joining it?
Yeah.
No, it's not in there.
It doesn't work anymore?
No.
Why?
What'd you say? I don't know why Emory, they moved it. Like if you look online, there's all these people that they're like, where did the join domain button go, kind of thing. So and again, it depends on what version of Windows 10 you're using. So.
Yeah.
All right. So while this is rebooting, let's go back to my DC2. All right. So what I'm going to do on here real quick is I'm going to kind of finish up like questions 3 and 4. I'll make sure this is a domain controller. Then I'm going to look at, I'll get DNS set up on this as well. So at the end we'll have 2 domain controllers, both running DNS, and a client joined to my domain. All I have left to do is add the remote server administration tools to it.
Are you connecting to both domains or just the?
I have just one domain that both machines are a part of. So
Okay.
DC1 and DC2 are both domain controllers in the same domain. So. Yeah, if I click on local server here, DC2 is a member of AD40 rubric P. So that's the exact same domain.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay, good. So now let's check out DNS real quick. Add roles and features. I'm gonna add DNS to this. Oh, it's already installed. Oh, how nice is that? So I want to show you something real quick. If I click on DNS here, and I have all these forward lookup zones, I recall that forward lookup zones are basically like, I always think of it like a database as their support Active Directory. So if your domain controller has to find another domain controller, it can go to DNS to find that. When your client is logging in and needs to find a domain controller to authenticate with, it goes to DNS to find that. So that's a database that supports Active Directory. So. And if I look at this forward lookup zone that is supporting Active Directory, if I right-click on it and go Properties, it says it's Active Directory integrated. That's the default state, and this is like it's so good. I mean, Microsoft just made it the default. But basically, what happens is all of your domain controllers, if they have DNS installed, all the DNS data just gets replicated to them with the Active Directory content. It's secure. It's incremental. It's just there. But I mean, I think it's important to recognize that it's running on this machine right now. And I can tell that it's working because I have all this data from my DNS zone that was on that's currently on DC1 is also on DC2 now. So I have an Active Directory integrated zone. So in the Capstone project, if I say something like verify that you have 80 Active Directory integrated zone, you can just right click on this thing and and go properties and show me that it is Active Directory integrated. Okay? You can read more up on this. If you have other machines that are DNS servers that are not domain controllers, then you're going to have to change this to get your DNS to replicate, but then you're kind of stuck with the older way of replicating DNS data. Okay? So there it is. All right, so we have 2 domain controllers, we have 2 DNS servers. It's interesting to note that although we have DNS running on here, no one's going to use it because currently my client and DC2 are all pointing to DC1 to be a DNS server. So if you really wanted to take advantage of it, you'd have to change. I'd have to change the IP settings on some of my machines to have a half point to one DNS server and a half point to the other DNS server. All right, let's finish this up now. Other user, I'm going to log on as admin1. If you have other questions, let me know. I mean, I love it when you guys ask questions about, if you have just a thought on something. All right, so I want to install the remote server administration tools. To install the RSAT, your VM does need to have internet access. So what's the easiest way to give it internet access? What? Make a NIC. So the easiest thing is just add a second NIC. And that second NIC is set for NAT. So now I have 2 network adapters. One is local for just connecting to the domain controllers, and the second one gets me online. That's the easiest way to do it. And now I just have to find the RSAT stuff.
Do they have flash drives that big in the bookstore?
Nope. Nope. Amazon. All right. So starting in like version 1803 of Windows 10, they moved how you got the remote server administration tools. Now they call it's like a Windows add-on feature, or it's a Windows feature. So they're kind of saying it's already built into Windows. You just have to enable it or turn it on. Then once you turn it on, it'll download some stuff and you have it installed. So that's a side note. If you have a really old version of Windows 10, good luck. But it's not. You have to follow a different process. I am logged on as admin1. If you're trying this at home afterwards and you're using the default admin account, I was getting all kinds of errors in my office until I made a separate, fresh domain admin account. So just remember that. Make a domain admin account and then use that. Don't use the default account. Apps, optional features. I got an error here before when I wasn't using the new account. So add a feature, and then here's all this remote server administration tools that I can add. So I'm going to add the DNS server tools, and I'm also going to add the Active Directory. Let's see here. I'm going to add that one, and I'll add this Active Directory domain service. I'll add these 2. I'll add this one and DNS as a test. This one and DNS. And if I quickly go while that's cooking, if I click this up arrow here in the upper left corner, it'll kind of show me what's going on here. So I'm just going to sit here and let that finish. If your VM does not have internet access, it's going to sit there and you're not going to get much of an error. But you're like, why isn't it working? Well, it's because it needs to go online to get these source files. So I'm just saying. Make sure your VM has internet access.
Both of them, or just one?
The only machine that needs internet access is the client.
Okay.
And then once this is done, I can disable the NIC if I want to. I just want to get the tools on it is all. Sometimes I don't. I mean, if you forget to turn the internet the NIC off, you might end up inadvertently downloading a Windows 10 update, and like, which is okay. It's not the end of the world, but you're like, why can't I watch Netflix at home? Why can't I watch Disney Plus? Well, it's because your VM is sucking down like 8 gigabytes worth of content. So I'm gonna click here, see optional feature history. Last 7 days, so the RSAT domain services directory service tools was installed, and then the DNS was also successfully installed as well. When I tried mine initially, I didn't have the DNS tools, and I looked here and it said it had failed for whatever reason, so I just reinstalled it. So now, if it's working, I can go on my Windows 10 client, and under Windows Administrative Tools, yeah, Active Directory users and computers, that's new. Give it a second. Let's try it again. Oh, there it goes. All right. So right now I could, I can create users and stuff from my Windows 10 machine as opposed to being on my client on my domain controller. I can also. My machine's just a bit slow. I guess I shouldn't complain though. This is still like better than what I have at home. All right, so let's see here. All right. I'm just looking for the DNS, Windows Administrative Tools. DNS is right there. I think I also could have, if I wanted to, just in the search bar, I could have just typed in DNS and launched the app that way as well. And I could, as well as like, Active Directory users and computers, I could launch things that way as well. But so now it's saying, hey, the Windows DNS server is running on server 2016-1. That's my domain controller, I think. I think that's what I called it. I don't know. Wait, let's take a look. I'm old. I have no memory, so let me just. Oh, it's just called DC1. See, I'm glad I double checked. DC1. There it is. Oh, yeah. So there's my forward lookup zones and stuff that are running on DC1. If I wanted to look at DC2, can I go? Let's see here. Can I right click? DC2. All right. So now I could manage DC2 as well if I wanted to. Good. So in summary, what have I done? I've set up 2 servers that are both domain controllers right now. I've also verified that DNS is operating on both of them. I then took my Windows 10 machine, I joined my domain, and after I joined the domain, I installed the remote server administration tools. What I didn't show you is, it wouldn't have hurt if I would have first quickly verified like my network settings. Let's see here once. I probably, like before I joined the domain, come on. Yeah, Ethernet 0. I probably should have looked at, and it worked, so I had it right, but I probably should have verified that my IP address was on the same subnet as DC1 and DC2. I should also verify that my DNS setting 192.168.20.101 was, that was pointing to DC1 as well. Hey, would this work? Could I change my DNS setting to 192.168.20.102? Yeah, JB, you're right. The answer is yes, because DC2 is also a DNS server, and that's my machine's address there as well. So let me just take a quick look at the capstone project and see if there's anything else I want. But then at this point, I'll let you just work on these machines. Work on your copy of the VMs. So don't forget, if you're at home or if you want even in here, you can always download my pre-configured VMs out of my capstone project resources document. And let's see here. Let's scroll. So question 1. I've set up DC1, DC2, and client 1 with those IP addresses. Done. I did install my VMs with a desktop experience, which means there's a GUI on it. It's not like a PowerShell, not the console-based environment, so that's done. I did not disable this UAC. I'll let you guys do that on your own. You can read up on that and do it. As far as verifying network connections between the devices using test connection, I can do that real quick. In Cisco, what do they always tell you to do is in Cisco for checking connectivity? Ping, yeah. That'll work. So I could, either one. Let's just do it both ways. Ping 192.168.20.101. Let's try that first. It's working. I must have turned the firewall off already on DC1, otherwise it would not have worked. I think my client is 201. No firewall there. Okay, good. That's one way. So the PowerShell way is test connection. There we go. And I could just put in like client 1, DC1 if I wanted to. Now it goes out and it first check client 1, then it checks DC1. All right, same thing as ping. You just have to get whatever you get comfortable with. Test connection does have more options or parameters you can specify. Buffer size, protocol, all kinds of stuff I can test if I want to. Okay, that's good. Let's go back. So that I could grab a screenshot of what I just showed you for question 2. Question 3, I join my domain. Done. 4, verify the DNS is installed on both machines. I've done that already, right? I could actually use this screenshot right here. This proves that DNS is running on both computers. I got that one screenshot. So far I've done questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then next week, my favorite content is PowerShell. So next week when I come in, I'll run through creating some user accounts in PowerShell and how to make like 200 of them in 2 minutes. Good?
I think I remember that.
Good. And again, if you ever get stuck on something, this capstone project resources document does have a lot of notes and stuff. So Tim, if you forgot it, if it's something you need.
No, I was talking about that PowerShell.
Yeah, but but I've got a couple links here, a couple things here to help creating user accounts. And again, I kind of handheld you through these first 4 questions just to get everybody up and going. There'll be times I'll be a lot more ambiguous about doing the stuff, and I'll just say, go figure it out, because that's what I want you to do. I want you to get stuck. I want you to get angry at me, and I want you to figure it out and be like, oh, Pat, I'm so smart. Look what I figured out on my own. But that's crash and burn. But that's really how you do the best learning. So I'm done. I'll copy. I'll upload this and I'll link it in Blackboard, and we'll let you guys work on your projects. And again, I would recommend, you're welcome to do it, is if you want to, on your computer, is just go to computer management and create your own local user account on the classroom computers here, and make yourself a local admin. So make a user called Tim, make him a local admin, and then log on as Tim from this point on, and that way you have less chance of people messing with your machines. Okay? All right.